Hello, and welcome to the third module of this online foundations class. My name is Jennifer, and I will be your instructor for both modules 3 and 4. First, let's begin with a review of the Effective Instructional Sequence, or EIS. The sequence is the functional objective, where you begin with the end in mind, then setting the stage, which you studied in the previous module, comprehensible input, guided practice, and application, extension, and assessment. We'll be focusing on comprehensible input in this module. The definition of comprehensible input is the aspect of instruction in which the teacher presents in a realistic context the tools, vocabulary, structures, cultural information students need to learn in order to achieve the functional objective. Key elements to remember are that it is 100% in the target language, there are periodic comprehension checks, and student production is limited. This step can be likened to filling the bucket. In other words, the teacher fills the students' minds with new learning. There are various characteristics of the comprehensible input, as noted on the left-hand side of this slide. Let's begin with the first characteristic. Comprehensible input must be 100% in the target language. What, you may say? Or perhaps you're thinking, well, actually, I already knew that. Think back to your days in the teacher credentialing program, unless that was when the emphasis was audiolingual, or further back, the grammar translation methodology. Eek! Over the years, linguists have studied and improved upon techniques for teaching language so that the learner can actually use the language in real-world situations. Having the teacher use the target language to immerse students in the language and teach content in the language is not just a trend. It is linked to studies on language acquisition, and it is truly the best way to teach a world language. Now that you're over the shock of that first characteristics of comprehensible input, or perhaps you are relieved to finally hear that there is a new group of world language teachers who support you in your endeavor to solely use the target language, here is the next key characteristic. The target language used by the teacher must be understandable. If you begin day 1 in your French 1 or Spanish 1 class going 100 miles per hour in the target language using idioms and words they have never heard, you will quickly lose your students. So here are some tips on how to make yourself understandable. First, if it is possible in your target language, use as many cognates as possible, especially in your lower level classes. For example, the word important in English is importante in Spanish. That is a cognate that for students who have never heard it in Spanish, they realize what it is in English. This is assuming you have already lowered the affective filter, or the mental block that can be caused by stress and makes it difficult for students to receive new information. A second way to make your comprehensible input understandable is repetition, repetition, repetition. The more you repeat new grammar structures for the students or new vocabulary words, the better and longer they will retain the new information. Repeat each new vocabulary word at least 7 times before you expect your student to produce it. A third way to make your comprehensible input understandable is to use a lot of visuals. When students can connect a vocabulary word to a picture, they will remember it quicker rather than having to connect the word in the target language to the word in their native language, and then finally to the image produced in their mind. With visuals, you eliminate the middle step of translation in the process from language to meaning. Finally, to make comprehensible input understandable to your students, you can use your own body language. Some of you may be laughing to yourselves already, thinking, isn't that what I do every day? World language teachers are actors and actresses who, by nature, tend to talk with their hands. That's great. Keep it up because it helps your students to understand you better. The third characteristic of comprehensible input is that it needs to be input plus 1. In other words, the new concept, whether it be a new structure, set of vocabulary words, or cultural element, needs to be slightly beyond the student's current level. For example, let's say in a level 1 class, stage 1, students already have become familiar with the structures I like, I do not like, do you like? Now, you want to input something new for them. So comprehensible input plus 1. So you're going to input these 3 words. Remember not to go beyond 7 new words per day. So the 3 words for this example are to eat, to run, to dance. Brain research shows that it is best not to go beyond 7 new words per day, because that is all students will remember anyway. So why do more when you'll just have to reteach it again the next day? Now, the teacher could do his or her comprehensible input in this way. For example, the teacher points to the picture to eat and says, I like to eat. I like to eat. To run. I like to run. Do I like to run? No, I do not like to run. Do I like to eat? Yes, I like to eat. I like to eat. I do not like to run. To eat. To run. Do you like to eat? I like to eat. Do you like to eat? I like to run. No, I do not like to run. Do you like to run? To dance. I like to dance. Do you like to dance? Do I like to eat? Yes or no? The students say, yes. Do I like to run? The students say, no. Then I ask, do I like to dance? The students say, yes. At this point, I might point to the picture to eat and say, do I like to run? And the students would say, no. You like to run or to eat? And the students would say, to eat. Then I would point to the picture to run and say, I do not like to eat or to run. And the students would say, to run. Finally, I would point to the picture to dance and say, I like to run or to dance? And the students would say, to dance. Finally, I would ask them, what do I like to do? As I point to the picture to eat. Students would say, to eat. Then I point to the picture, what do I like to do? The picture to run. And students would say, to run. And I would continue this way. One more thing to note is that you do not want to overload your students with structures and vocabulary all at once, that is, in the same day, if you can avoid it. Introduce a new structure one day, and then introduce new vocabulary another day, or vice versa.